In this video, we're going to talk about the basics of formatting Excel cells. And this is really a collaboration between OpenStax and Divide and Conquer Math, and we're talking about Chapter 1 from that textbook. You can access the textbook for free. If you look in the description of the video, I have a link to it. Additionally, you can access the Excel workbook for free. You can either look in the description of this video, or you can go to divideandconquermath.com. Just go to the OpenStax statistics area and look for Chapter 1. So jumping into the Excel workbook, so just as a reminder, this works best if you're using a downloaded version of Excel onto a desktop. And I am on the second tab of this workbook where it says basic formatting. So if you cannot see that tab, you can look down here to find the tabs and then just click on the one that says basic formatting. Okay, so what we're going to talk about are just different ways that Excel can format things, because sometimes Excel formats things automatically in a way you didn't want, and so you just have to know how to change that. So a lot of the formatting buttons actually can be found up here, so under this Home tab, and then if you go in here. So for instance, if I wanted to format this 6 as a percent, so you can see here if I go up into number, there is this percent button, and I can just click on that. And so what it's going to do is automatically multiply my number by 100%. So it's going to take any number and automatically turn it into a percent. Now, let's say that I didn't want it to be a percent. So as you can see now, there's no necessarily like undo percent button. But if you click up here, you'll see it says percentage. So this is really where, if you are totally lost, like this is the place to go to like see all the different options in one place. So if I wanted this to go back to a 6, I could click on General. And again, if I wanted it to go to percentage, so I could look through here and then just click on percentage and we're good to go. So next we have, if I want to format this as not just a 7, but I want to format it as dollars. So you can see here that I could just click on the dollar sign. If you click on the little arrow next to it, it actually shows you just some other units that you could do that have to do with currency. Or once again, I could click in here and you'll notice that there is both a currency and an accounting format. So this formatted the number as accounting, but if I switch it to currency, it just moves the dollar sign next to the 7. And so it just kind of comes down to preference and what you're doing. Next, so a lot of times when you're working in Excel, you want things rounded off to a certain amount of decimals. And so Excel can automatically do that for you. So if you do some sort of calculation and you get some crazy long decimal like this, what you can do is you can come up here to where it says number, and you can see here that it's expanding or decreasing the zeros. And so this works exactly how you'd think. But also if you were to arrow over it, Excel will show you an example. So if I want to decrease this to 2 decimals, I can just continue to hit this button up here, and you can see that now this is down to 2 decimals. Or if I wanted to expand it, I could just click on this again and it will preserve those decimals. So Excel will automatically round here based on standard rules of rounding. So if I wanted to format this as a regular number, so let's say that I typed something in and it gave me $14 and that's not what I wanted. So again, I go up through here. This is actually a very important thing to note, because one of the really common things that Excel does that's kind of goofy is sometimes you type in a number and it's really common that it will do something like this. So it will format something automatically as a date. This is a really common thing that will just happen at random times. And so when Excel is doing that, it's very important that you know that you should be able to format it however you want. Okay, so that's the formatting on numbers. Let's just talk about a few other formatting things just to make sure that you're familiar. So if you wanted to bold the text in this cell, you can just click on the cell and you can see up here there's all these different font options, and they work very similar to like a word processor, so I think a lot of people are probably familiar with them, but you can always click and play around with these and you won't really impact anything. So if I click on the B, that's going to bold the text. If I wanted to make the text blue, so you can see here I've got this A with a color under it, so there's your font color. So if I want to make that text blue, I can select whatever blue I want, so there's the text blue. If I wanted to now color an entire column, so I've said to select the column R. Now as you can see, if I look at all the columns that I have right now, I don't see R. So this is actually a great time just to state that. So you can always click over in Excel, so there's column R. If you ever want to select an entire column or row, so I can select a row in the same way, what you do is you just click on that letter or that number and that will select the whole thing. And I am going to color this in purple because it is my favorite color. Now, if you want more columns after this, so the thing to note here is that I just clicked on the arrow button here. So you'll notice that like no matter how much I drag this over, Excel will always move the arrow back. That's because Excel has an absurd number of columns that you can go out until. And so you can always just keep dragging over as far as you need. Excel will always find you more columns if you're doing basic Excel work. Next, so there is a difference between coloring a cell versus coloring text. So if I wanted to color an entire cell, so that would be the paint bucket again. So I could go to this fill color and I can just click on it, or I could color it something else. So this paint bucket's what's going to allow you to either color a cell or a group of cells, whatever you want, whatever you selected, this is going to fill in that color. Next, we want to talk about a tab color. So if I want to color the tab anything other than green, so I'm talking about the current tab, the one that says basic formatting down here. So if I just right click on this, I will get this set of options, and you can see here it says tab color. And so I'll just go ahead and change that to purple again. And so now I have the tab color that I want, and I can see that more clearly when I click on other tabs. So we did this tab in another video, but now you can see, okay, so there's everything that we needed for that one. Last, if you want to put a box around a cell, so there are, if you come up here into font, you can see that we have little border options. And let's see, I'll do a thick outside border, and so that put a thick border around the cell. So those are just some basic things that you can do to different cells if you need to format them in any sort of way. And of course, you've got other options up here too. So you've got things like you can format if something's in the center, left, right, whatever. The last thing that is just important to talk about with formatting with sheets is, so sometimes you're going to want to format your cells to be wider. So let's click on this cell here. So it doesn't matter where you want to click. You can click on the whole column, or you can just click on the cell. All that you need to do if you're trying to make a cell wider is you have to find these two arrows going to the left and right, and that will allow you to go any way that you want. Now, a little shortcut to this is if you see those two arrows and you just want it to default to as wide as possible to fit the contents in the cell, you can also double click on it and Excel will just automatically stretch. And you can do this for both columns and rows. So if I want to go this way with my row, I just look for those two little arrows and we're good to go. So sometimes when you open a workbook, things will look a little different on your screen. And so it's important just to know how to format things so that you can make them look how you want.